December 2008. It was just approaching the holiday season, and the tree was up in our home, and it was beautifully decorated for the holiday season. I had a beautiful life, or that's how it looked on the outside. In fact, on the inside of that home, my husband and I had decided to separate. But with the holiday season, we had decided to make the decision to stay together. We had a young child at home, and we thought it was vitally important for her to have one last amazing Christmas together. So I kept it together. I didn't share what was going on inside of me and inside of our home. I didn't let anyone in. I do that really well. I hold it all in. Christmas passed, and we were into a new year, but we were still living this way, letting a little bit of time pass. So in order to manage the stress, I was going to go to the gym. I was going to work it off and work off that stress and sweat it out on the treadmill. I was going to take it out on those dumbbells. So what did I do? I hired a personal trainer to really make sure I was very focused. January 21st, 2009, I was working out with Chris, my personal trainer, when during our session, I suddenly felt ill. Or so he tells me. I was not feeling that well because, you see, I don't remember anything from that day. Because while we were working out, what I didn't actually get to finish that sentence that said, I'm not feeling very well. Because at that instant, my heart stopped. I collapsed, and I died. It's called sudden cardiac death. I was 43 years old and seemingly in perfectly good health. And I died. And thankfully, Chris was there that day with a number of other angels because they tirelessly performed CPR on my lifeless body that was on the floor and brought me back to life. So there I was, trying to recollect my life. And I learned some very valuable lessons because the doctors actually never, to this day, don't know what caused that cardiac arrest. But I was on a mission to find out why and find some answers because 40,000 Canadians a year suffer a cardiac arrest and only 5% survive. And the survival rate outside of a hospital is minuscule, and I was so lucky. I survived. So I wanted to be able to understand that. So what I want to talk to you about today is what I've learned about the link of human emotion and the physical body. Because I was living disconnected. I was never so disconnected. You see, I'd taken my emotions over the last few years and I had put them in a box. I didn't want anybody to see them or touch them. And I sure didn't want to feel them. So it was easier to tuck it away and put it up on a shelf. But I had to figure out what that looked like now for me. And what I learned is that when we are living that disconnectedness and when our emotions are not connected to our physical body, it puts an immense amount of stress on our bodies. And we can't live like that prolonged period of time. Because if we do, it leaves us susceptible to chronic illness. Or worse, our bodies shut down. Death. I died because of that disconnectedness. But I'm alive. And I want to share some of the journey that I've been on. You see, today, one of the things I live with is a pacemaker defibrillator that's implanted in my chest. That's my new normal. I needed to find ways to help me manage my stress because it was really just there as an insurance policy because I didn't know, but I didn't want it to happen again. God forbid it happened while I was driving with my daughter in the car. Because you see, when they tell you that when you get shocked by this defibrillator in your chest, it's equivalent to being kicked in the chest by a horse. Imagine driving on the highway with that. I didn't want that to happen again. So I was really working on this journey to manage my stress. And I was doing an okay job. Fast forward 4 years. And all of a sudden I started getting new symptoms. Nothing related to what I had learned about the cardiac arrest. You see, a cardiac arrest and a heart attack are two very different things, even though people think they're the same thing. A cardiac arrest is actually, in its simplest form, an electrical malfunction of your body, whereas a heart attack is more related to the plumbing and the clogging of your pipes or the clogging of an artery. I wasn't having any of those same symptoms. In fact, I was just getting this headache, but it was like a pressure headache. It wasn't a headache like I had ever felt before. It felt like when you get your blood pressure taken and there's a cuff put on your arm and you can feel the pressure building. This felt like somebody had put that cuff around my neck when I was feeling this pressure. Psst, 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 and my head felt like it was going to explode. And it was more acute when I had been lying down or when I was bending down to get something. Until one morning I woke up and I went into the bathroom because my head was just killing me, and I tried not to take any pain medication ever, but I gave up because I really needed to get rid of this pressure. And when I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize myself because my face was so swollen. My eyes were almost swollen shut. Of course, I was horrified. Immediately called my family to take me to the emergency department. I was whisked in for a CT scan, and after many doctors actually looked to see what was happening, they finally discovered that there was a vein, the main vein, the superior vena cava that goes into your heart, was almost completely blocked. The wire from the device that was running through that vein was really actually the only thing keeping it open. And so it turns out that when I was standing up and gravity was doing its thing, I was okay because it was allowing the blood to flow. So as long as I stayed up, as long as I slept upright, and I got really great at squats because I couldn't bend over to do anything and pick anything up. But I was actually scheduled to go on a spiritual retreat with some women I had been to Mexico with. And I was really looking forward to it. So I said, please, please let me go. And they discovered that they actually thought that it was okay for me to go. So while we were trying to figure out what was going to be the solution, I went away on this retreat. So of course I spent some time while we were having some wine one night, and was telling the team about, or the women about at this retreat, about this experience that I was having. I was telling them about my health issues. I was telling them, they were asking me, of course, about my love life, because it had now been 4 years since I was divorced, and I was telling them it wasn't going so well. And one woman looked me straight in the eye, and she said to me, have you ever considered the idea that this is manifesting, your heart actually closing is that shield that you've put up, and not being open to love, not being open to letting people in. So I really sat with that, and I did a lot of soul searching after that. I did a journey to actually try and find out how to love myself first. That was a big step. And learn more about myself and become very authentic. And I learned that I was on a journey, and I am a work in progress. We are all a work in progress. And I'm reminded of that every morning when I stand in front of the mirror, and I have lots of scars, and I have a metal box still in my chest. I'm reminded of that when I go through airport security. I'm reminded of that when I'm at places that I have to go through certain screening, and that I have this metal in my body. But what I do want to share with you and what I have learned and what I feel, and my message is that I had to die in order to truly live. And I want you to understand how important that emotion is, and that emotion and our connectedness. It was time for me to actually take that box off the shelf and start to feel the sadness and loss of my life that I no longer had, but celebrate that I was happy and joyful and actually learning to love myself. So what I want you to take away today is to really embrace your emotions and understand that connectedness and how important that is. Celebrate it. Celebrate love, celebrate connectedness, and celebrate your authenticity, because you're all amazing. And thank you very much.